I'm Melissa here from Peter Glenn today, and I'm talking with Josh from Burton, and we're going to go over the best ladies beginner snowboard setup. So Josh, let's talk about boots first.
Yeah, you're right, Melissa. So boots is definitely the first place you want to start when putting together a board. If you're budgeting out, if you have X amount of dollars to spend on a complete setup, really pay attention to boots first and spend your money here if you need to. Just simply because if your feet hurt, the whole experience is going to be terrible. Your feet, it's going to be uncomfortable. You might even get cold, which we'll talk about in a minute. And the ideal way to buy boots is actually to get in a shop, visit someone like Melissa who can really help you get your boots fitted correctly. But if you don't live near a shop, the kind of three main things you want to look for when fitting a snowboard boot is having good toe contact at the front of the boot, simply because when you ride and you bend your knees, it'll actually draw your toes backwards slightly. So when you're standing straight up vertical, you want good toe connection at the front of the boot, not cramped, but touching. The second thing is you want to make sure your heel's not sliding up and down the rear of the boot. Because if you consider it, like if your heel's lifting up, that means the heel edge of your board might not be lifting up, and it could be potentially dangerous to ride. So good toe contact, no heel lift, and then finally, you just don't want anything pinching, poking, pushing, cutting off circulation, making you uncomfortable. All of our boots have the capability to be heat molded, which is something Peter Glenn can help you out with in store, and that just simply takes 3 or 4 days off the break-in process and makes them form exactly to your foot and super comfortable. In terms of just other boot options to look for, like as a beginner snowboarder, you typically want something that's very soft and comfortable and forgiving as you're learning to ride. As you're moving your legs and your feet and trying to manipulate your board, you might not have it figured out right away. So having a soft boot kind of gives you some forgiveness as you're like perfecting the movements in your legs and lower ankle. What we chose today for like this perfect beginner board is the Burton Mint boot. It's affordable, it's soft, it's comfortable, it has that heat moldable liner we just talked about, and also has this BOA lacing system, which is super, super popular. All you have to do is click this button down, tighten, and you don't have to worry about it the rest of the day. It stays completely tight and is super safe.
And Josh, what differentiates this from a men's boot?
No, that's a good point. So yeah, women's gear is obviously specifically made for women. So just anatomically, women's calf muscles are a little bit lower than men's. So therefore our boots and even our binding high backs are lower to accommodate for your calf muscle so it's not digging into you and making you uncomfortable. Yep.
That definitely makes a difference.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, let's talk about these bindings.
Yeah, so once you got your boots sorted out, like we said, that's number one. Step 2, you could definitely start looking at some bindings. So like we said for boots, you want soft, forgiving. Same deal with bindings. You want a soft, forgiving high back that's going to be comfortable, not dig into your softer boot. And then some other things to look for are just, comfortable straps. So what we have here as our pick is the Burton Women's Citizen binding. Great price, soft, comfy, and it has all the features you'd want, including like this good asymmetrical strap here. Believe it or not, this thing is actually designed to keep blood flowing to your toes and not really pinch and cut off circulation in your feet. And then finally, the cap strap down here, which is meant to be ridden over the toe of your boot rather than directly over top of your toes. So what this does is sucks your foot down into the board, giving you good connection to the board and to the snow, and then finally back into your high back, which, the high back is the lever that gives you control from toe to heel edge. So Citizen, simple, soft, cheap, perfect beginner binding. Yep.
Absolutely. Okay, so now we have boots, we have our bindings. Let's chat about the board.
Yeah, so board, this is where there's some confusion. It's pretty easy to put a boot on and tell that it feels good. It's hard to look at a board in the shop or in your living room and know if it's going to ride easily for you as a beginner rider. So there's kind of 3 boxes you want to check. The first is getting the right size. So it's sizing the correct board. It all has to do with how much you weigh and then your foot size. So these boards come with like very easy to read sizing charts on the back of them, and they can definitely help you out with that in shop, and this information is available online too. But question 1 is how much do I weigh? And you're going to have a few options of boards because the weight ranges are pretty generous. And then step 2 is how big is my foot? Is my foot going to hang off the edge of this thing and cause me to catch and drag and fall in the snow? In that case, you might need to bump up to a wider board. So figure out the right size, and then the next thing you want to look for is the bend profile of the board. So this deck we have here is a flat profile snowboard, simply meaning that it is in complete contact with the ground from its contact point here and here. And having that flat platform just is very stable and forgiving. You don't have any crazy bends in it that have sharp contact points where you could catch and fall. So flat is forgiving, super easy to learn on. And then most importantly, get yourself a snowboard that is very soft. And when I say soft, that's just how flexible it is. So a soft snowboard is going to be really easy to control and manipulate under your feet as you're learning to turn and steer.
I can absolutely attest to this. I learned on a very inflexible board and I fell a lot. So don't do what I did.
Yep.
All right, so Josh, to review, we have the ladies mint boot to start with for our beginner setup.
Correct, yeah. So just to recap this entire setup here, like the situation you're in, you've rented some boards, you've fallen in love with snowboarding, you want your own gear that you can progress, and the gear will be consistent for you and will help you learn faster. So just to recap the whole thing, you want soft, comfortable, women's specific boot like the Burton Mint here. You want soft, forgiving bindings like the Burton Citizen. And then again, soft, flexible, flat shaped board like the Burton Hideaway. And that's really going to help you become a better snowboarder and have a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Josh. If you want any of these products, come see us at Peter Glenn or visit us at peterglenn.com.